oh my God, I totally agree. Like Europe has so many cute shoes, and here, like I have to wear like Crocs. Ours are made with natural rubber soles. And there's a beautiful story behind it that I love and I'm very proud of.
That's Lisa Oberst. I'm Sean McCarthy, and this is The Lucky Orange Show. Lisa Oberst spent 8 years working at FuelMade, which is an agency that helps e-commerce brands grow on Shopify and Klaviyo. Now, she decided to take all that know-how as she was leading retention at FuelMade to make something of her own, and that's how Womads was born. Womads began as a brand that started with one standout product and has since grown with intention, guided by data, customer patterns, and a mission that runs deeper than just marketing copy. So in this conversation, Lisa and I talked about how she's keeping the business lean while investing in the right systems, why balancing customer feedback with what the data is showing you can be harder than it looks, and how purpose shows up in day-to-day decision-making and not just a brand copy. So let's go have a chat with Lisa Oberst from Womads. All right, Lisa, I'm super excited to dig in with you today. You've got an interesting journey that includes like the agency side. Now you're founder, owner, operator, everything for everything at your brand. And I think it'll be really fun to talk through kind of how data shows up in this, how you're operating, and kind of like we said before we hit record here, what the reality of the situation is. Because I think that's what people care about most, is how other people's reality might reflect in their reality. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could start talking through kind of how you've arrived at where you're at today. I know that you've spent 8 years, maybe more, at FuelMade, which is a Shopify Klaviyo agency, I think kind of a multidisciplinary thing, leading retention. And then you took the big jump and decided to become a founder. Tell me a little bit about how that journey has progressed for you.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, Sean. So yeah, giving you a little context. So I started in the e-commerce world completely by chance. I was hired by a small agency before FuelMade and learned a whole lot about email marketing and e-commerce, but just within like less than a year, because within less than a year, they ran out of funds and had to shut down. But that was actually great because that's when FuelMade hired me to build out a whole department. And so that was my chance to kind of spread my wings and just see everything that I had learned and apply it and just dive in the deep end. And so that was at FuelMade, about 8-9 years ago. And something that was incredible about that position and that situation is that it was just me at the very beginning in that department. So I was working very closely with our clients, with the founders, with the people who had started these brands, who were just such incredible people, very impressive and inspiring. Some of them were, you might know, like Eric Bandholf from Beard Brand was actually one of my very first clients. And obviously that left a mark. And others like BK Beauty, Chris Nations, Coco Kind. So I was working directly with these founders, and that played a huge role in my decision to basically, I was like, I want to be you when I grow up. Just learn as much as I possibly could. And since I was actually like just doing everything on my own at FuelMade first, I just set everything up in a way that I would learn so much about these brands. I didn't want it to be just about sending out a few emails here and there. I wanted to really dive into their world and learn everything I possibly could to bring as much value, but also because I found it so fascinating. And so that was my journey at FuelMade. And a big reason I took the leap was because I wanted to have my own brand to play with, to not just be working on the email side of things, but I wanted to get my hands dirty and get involved in all sides of the business. And something that I would say I learned from working directly with these founders and these impressive people is how important it is to really have an authentic connection with your audience, to tell a story, a real story. Going back to Eric, for example, one of the first things I did when I started working with them is watch a zillion videos that they have on YouTube. So now I can't see a beard without evaluating it. So it was really what made me think, okay, I want a brand that represents me, my people, that I can build a community around, and that I can just really put all my energy into.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's, we'll get into the brand and some of kind of
Hmm.
the ethos there, but that's definitely reflected in even just the messaging and how you organize the website and stuff to make sure that that comes through as sort of a purpose driven existence, and that kind of shows up there. You've bitten off this journey of being a founder, and I do like the idea of, hey, I want to see what this looks like in practice. I want to build my own thing. Um, you've also mentioned that it's still a really lean organization, um, the most lean it could
You're looking at
possibly be. What did you take from your experience as far as building systems and just operating goes that you've brought over with you into this? And maybe what's something in there, a workflow, a tool, or otherwise, that's um, really worked well for you in this sort of first part of the brand journey for you?
So obviously, it was all about email marketing. So that's one of the. So I was talking about how important it is to tell your story and have an authentic story and really a connection with your audience. And of course, like I was doing that for 8 years for other brands via email marketing. So that's one of the first things I did was really set up some systems to collect email addresses, build that connection with whoever was interested in the brand. I launched when I first launched my hero product, I did it with pre-orders, and I put a lot of attention in the story I was telling and getting people engaged, not just about the product, because for me it's never really been about shoes. I like to say that it's not about shoes. It's really about the women, and so
Hmm.
I want that to come through. It's about making women's lives easier, and we can dive into that. But so telling that story through email marketing was really really helpful. Just having those that know-how helped a great deal. And then something that I was not used to being on camera. But I knew I was going to have to because as a bootstrapped brand, I'm like, I can't throw a ton of money at having someone else shoot for me.
Sure.
So something that I set up were systems to just have a lot of content from the founder, from me, kind of again emulating a little bit of what Eric had done with Beard Brand, or Lisa, she's also called Lisa from BK Beauty, just really being present and using that to build the brand instead of just a lot of funds.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me more about kind of the ethos of the brand and how you got to that. I mean, is it all completely based on just, your beliefs as a person, or is there something that you've identified that said, I think that this could be successful, right? Like obviously you're building a brand and there's a balance here to say, I want this to be successful financially. I want the to whatever end.
Mhm.
But also along the way doing it my way, doing it the way that I think it should be done. Can you talk a little bit about how that took shape for you?
Yeah, so let me explain a little bit why I even had that idea. So I wanted something about traveling. I wanted something that had to do with traveling, making life easier for traveling. Because I'm French American, grew up in Belgium, lived all over the U.S., lived in Brazil, traveled all around Latin America. I loved traveling and being active. And so when I right before COVID, I moved back to the U.S. from Brazil, and that's when I had this idea because I found myself in Miami. Miami is such an incredible place for biking, skateboarding, dancing, walking everywhere all the time, and doing all sorts of activities. And I like to be comfortable, but I also like to be put together, stylish. And so that's what really made me think, okay, well, I want to be active, I want to travel, but I want something to make this easier and still feel feminine. And so that's how the idea came to me. So it's very much about making my life easier as well. But I did obviously do some due diligence, I guess, to make sure that it wasn't just me wanting this.
Sure.
I asked around, I floated the idea by a lot of people, I showed my concept to a lot of women, and nothing scientific. but still like just making sure, okay, does this resonate? Like when I start talking about this idea, what happens? And a lot of the time women would like be like, oh my God, I totally agree. Like Europe has so many cute shoes, and here like I have to wear like Crocs.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
no.
So that's how I decided, okay, I love this idea. I know I
Mhm.
can dedicate years of my life to this, and I know I can authentically tell this story, and that's important to me.
Yeah,
So
for
let's
sure.
go.
And it's a really intentional starting point. And you, from what I understand, launched with, as you've called it, a hero product, an
Yeah.
initial product, and you're now and have already added to the line, I believe.
Mhm. Yes.
Um, what did you look for in that move from saying, okay, we've got something here, we have one product, it's working, it's time to make the investment in many different ways in expanding product line? Because I think that there are a lot of instances where people will strike gold, for lack of better phrases, with something and then expand and maybe grow too fast, or maybe pull the wrong lever in the wrong direction. So what kind of has gone behind this move up from just one product? I know also kind of baked in here, you mentioned you're talking about doing wholesale. I think
Mhm.
is one thing that's kind of on the list there too. So talk
There are
to
a
me
lot of things
about kind
on
of how
this.
you've explored these expansion ideas basically in general.
Yeah, yeah. So the first year I launched, I noticed a bell curve, which is kind of obvious retrospectively, but my hero product is a sandal, and so it sells very well during summer.
Hmm.
So it sells very well during the summer, but it goes down during the Q3, Q4 months. And so pretty quickly, I was like, okay, I need to deal with this. One option would be to expand internationally. That seemed like a huge headache. I did a little research. I was like, not ready for that. Although it is something I'm looking into now. But I thought there's still, the American market still has so much opportunity and potential. I don't want to get out of it at the moment or expand. And so I also started getting messages from customers like, hey, can you make this in a closed toe? I love the shoe. I love how comfortable it is, how light and soft and all that. Can you translate that to a closed toe so I can wear it at work and during colder months? So I got the idea from customers, and I decided to do that. When did I launch? I launched the Oxfords last year, end of
Okay.
last year. And so that was really the factor, is like, okay, well, I can't just a sandal is going to be a little hard to grow. And then I also decided at the same time to launch a crossbody bag, which has like, it has a beautiful wavy strap to make it original, but it's a very practical crossbody bag. um, First, because I wanted it for myself. I realized that's another need that we have. It's just so impractical to have these handbags that are just like flying everywhere if I want to, I don't know, skateboard with it,
For sure.
but or travel with it. And so I did that also because I started realizing that dealing with sizes for shoes is quite a headache.
Hmm.
Which obviously I have a shoe brand, so I'll be dealing with that headache. But I wanted to also compensate that, looking at returns, and have a product that I know will not be returned because of sizing issues, and have a little bit of a easier product to sell. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how, yeah.
You brought up customer feedback, and I think that that's something that anybody who's operating in a brand is, in one way or another, is hearing about customer feedback, dealing with it directly or not. How have you found yourself balancing that feedback with all the data that you're collecting, in the different platforms that are feeding you data, saying here's the purchase patterns, here's the returns, especially if as you've added products, how do you take the customer voice? Because I think that one of the challenges we see brands have is customers may say one thing and do something else, and they may ask for something. You may release something that they never asked for, and it still goes gangbusters and crushes it. So what has that balance been like between data and the voice of the customer?
So the first thing I think of is sizing requests, because I get almost every day requests for bigger sizes.
Interesting.
I launched with sizes 6 through 11. Just I had to start somewhere, and that's what most true brands I found do. So 6 through 11, and every day I had people being like, "Oh, you're not including size 12. How could you?" Right? I'm sorry. And so I want the brand to be available to as many women as possible. So I'm listening to that feedback carefully. But at the same time, I also noticed, again, the bell curve of the sizes. There are more people buying size 6 than people buying size 11. So if I start with, but I still added size 12 because they're very vocal. I don't know if this might just be my theory, but I feel like women with bigger shoe sizes are just more vocal than the ones who are
Just, yeah.
waiting for size 5, which I'm launching now.
Nice.
But yeah, so I launched size 12, and I'm getting some very happy women buying those. But definitely looking at the data, I think size 5 will actually reach more women. So I got to balance that out. Something else, this is more related to the comments I get every single day, but a lot of women ask for wide sizes.
Sure.
Would love to add wide sizes, but that means doubling my SKU count. And I've talked to other brands, and they've told me stay away from that if you can. So for now, I'm gonna stick to not having wide sizes.
Yeah. I
Even though a
mean,
lot of
that,
customers are asking.
I imagine that it not only adds SKUs to things you need to monitor, but it's the production process. It's, it's everything. Maintaining the
It,
style with a wider base, whatever, I don't know shoes, but um,
yeah.
one thing I wanted to go back and double click on a little bit is that your brand, how do you pronounce the name? Womads?
Womads.
Okay.
Womads. It's like nomads, but with a W for women.
Love it. It operates with what I feel like is a strong sense of purpose, and it comes out of the intention that we've talked about earlier. Through the entire process, from supply chain all the way through the website, how are you making sure that kind of like influences not only the purpose-driven vibe that the brand has, but also that it kind of drives your business decisions? Because I imagine that some other people may be in a similar situation, and they may make certain decisions that kind of, they're tempted to go against that original idea because of cash flow, let's say, or whatever the idea would be. How are you kind of balancing that of like the always present pull of capitalism and this purpose-driven brand?
I think one key way that I'm handling it is that I am my ideal client. So if I downgrade the product, I will not be happy with myself.
There you go. That's it. Problem solved.
Yeah. But to give you an example, most shoes are made with plastic soles. It's cheaper, it's easier. Ours are made with rubber soles, natural rubber soles. And there's a beautiful story behind it that I love, and I'm very proud of. It's like we work with partners who get their rubber from farms in parts of Colombia where they're reforesting that area. And that area used to be exploited for growing drugs. And so these farmers are giving it a new life. It's giving these farmers work, and it's a natural product. So from every perspective, it's a very beautiful thing to add to our brand and our product. And the price really went up this year. But there's no world where I'm going to switch from working with them.
Yeah.
It's in the DNA. So
That's super cool. I think that I think it takes definitely a commitment to the idea and a commitment to the reason for existing to look at those things. And, you're not alone in facing challenges of increased costs. And I think that brands will have to make a decision. Brands that make the decision to sacrifice quality they'll see that show up on the other side. They'll see that show up in returns and complaints, and oh, the product has changed. I used to like it. It's very easy for people to put a review out online right now, and that stuff catches like wildfire. So uh,
Yeah.
good on Womads for continuing on that path. I'm curious too, as you've now settled into this journey with the brand, you're wearing all the hats, one
Yep.
giant hat. If you see those stupid hats that people, those giant hats they have on TV every now and then, that's
Yeah.
the hat that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Um, what's something that's kind of helped you stay focused? I think that a lot of brands, maybe not solo entrepreneurs necessarily, but even small teams, try and do everything all at once, especially when it comes to like reading data, interpreting things, and growing their business. But how have you been able to stay the course, stay focused, and kind of cut through all that noise?
I would say, first of all, it's a constant challenge. Just getting back on course, not losing my mind. And so one thing that's really helped me is at the beginning of the year, I set out, like I said, okay, I want to look into PR. I want to look into wholesale. I want to get these new products out, new sizes. So I have a list of big picture ideas. Like I want to move forward with all of these. And every so often, every month or 2 months, I make sure I review those and I say, okay, have I progressed?
Mm.
Because it's so easy to just get lost in the daily, like, okay, I got to answer customer messages. I got to answer the manufacturers. I got to move this forward. And so I really don't want to get lost in just being run by my business. And I need to focus on the bigger goals. And that's how I do it. I also, nothing sexy about this, but I block out my time, or else like I need to start the week knowing, okay, I'm going to be working on this, and that, or else, I could be working on anything.
Yeah.
And it's so important to be organized, or else I would lose my mind.
I mean, it's a really smart way of looking at it. I think that there's like the concept of working on the business versus working in the business. And
Yeah.
the working on the business is the thing that will always get kicked to the side if it's not blocked out, and not, an intentional thing. You mentioned
Yeah.
wholesale, and I know that I kind of dropped that word earlier. I'd love to go back to that because I think there will be some people that are interested in saying, okay, we're ready to expand and wholesale is an option. How are
Yeah.
you thinking about that? How are you evaluating that opportunity, and everything that comes along with that? Because it's not just a button to click to say, okay, now we're doing wholesale.
Yeah, it really is not. And I'm doing it the Lisa way, which is I'm kind of like collecting information, talking to people, kind of organically, also just talking it up. And what I've realized, I've pulled the trigger on fair, but that's not too difficult. And it doesn't mean I don't really consider that being doing wholesale yet. So doing wholesale would be like really reaching out to bigger stores or more stores and having a ton of systems in place to make this an automated
Mm-hmm.
machine where like I'm all constantly building up that list of partners and all that. So I'm slowly building up to that. But what I've realized when collecting information and kind of evaluating my brand is that I think I need to work on a few other things first. And the big one is kind of giving more street cred to my brand,
Hmm.
and maybe elevating it a little bit so that when it's compared to other fashion brands, it can, um, stand up next to them.
Interesting.
Like, yeah. And so one thing I've decided to do first is do a little bit of work on PR for the street cred, so that next to all these other brands, I can say, okay, I've seen in Vogue, or I've seen in
Sure.
who knows, and have a little bit more credibility. Something that made me realize that too is when I launched the other two more recent products, they're more expensive than the hero product, the Peep Toes. And I think it made me realize, looking at the data, that a lot of a lot of our traffic, they might click through an ad for Oxford or Crossbody, but they end up buying the Peep Toes.
Hmm.
And so there's some work I need to do for those more expensive products to make sure that the brand, that it makes sense, that the brand tells the right story visually of a bag, a $200 bag, or
Yeah, I mean,
$200.
price sensitivity within a specific audience segment is definitely something that people will face, especially when they try and go up market a little bit. It's like, how far can we go? And
Yeah.
it sounds like because that's definitely a topic that you're not born understanding price sensitivity. So you research it and you collect information and you talk to people. It sounds like you've built up some people you trust and some
Mm.
resources and advisors to make it more formal. For somebody that's maybe just finding their way, do you have any tips for spotting resources, building out a community, people that you can tap into, because there are challenges that will always come up in this entrepreneurial journey?
It's been very valuable for me to join different networking events in Miami. And it's, I don't like recommending networking because there's networking and there's networking. And
Sure.
for me, like, I had to really push myself to do a lot of it. And there were times where I didn't get anything out of going, like, a huge event where it's just like, okay, it's overwhelming. I'm not actually having a real conversation with anybody. And so for me, finding some smaller groups that are really focused on e-commerce has been very valuable, and also creating my own.
Hmm.
So as part of the, I'm going back a little bit to the brand, but basically for me, the brand, as I said, is not about the shoes; it's about the women. And so for me, I wanted it to be about the community. And as part of making that a reality, I started different networking events because I want to help women in different ways and bring them together. And I want that to not just, I want that to actually come to life. And
Cool.
so through doing that and joining small groups of women who are just interested in meeting other active, dynamic women, that's how I word it, uh, I've met some really great quote unquote resources because together we brainstorm, we tell each other what we're struggling with, we can help each other and just think through things. Thinking through things with someone else is very valuable.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say too, kind of baked into what you said a little bit, is like, some things you'll try with networking, some groups you'll try and it just won't pan out. Sometimes you'll get into something, you'll be added to a Slack channel and nobody comments. There's just a bunch of sales pitches or whatever. Like, some networking opportunities don't lead to much, but the ones that do and the ones that really stick are invaluable when it comes to a career, when it comes to bouncing ideas around. Even if you can just tag on to a couple of people from that group,
Yeah.
it doesn't take dozens of people to shape your kind of like advisory board. It only takes a few really of people that are in it, that get it, that have done it for a while. And on top of that, one thing you said that's really cool is like, you can also just do stuff. You can make your own community. You can build out a group. If you need something, there's probably somebody else out there who needs something like that. And so
Right.
you're allowed to start something that's better than sitting in a ballroom listening to people speak on stage and trying to stay awake, So
Yeah.
that's super duper cool. The brand continues to grow and you're continuing to lead it in a really purposeful way. But as you look through the rest of the year, what's something that has you excited in the space as you go forward?
A few things. First of all, I'm getting a new website done, which is very exciting because
Nice.
of just it should have a big impact on conversions and telling the story of the new products better. So cannot wait for that. And then I'm working on new products, and that's what gets me really excited. Of course, I'm launching new colors in all of our products soon, and just seeing how women react to those is always very exciting. And designing, I'm I'm uh, I guess I am a shoe designer now, but I'm not a trained product designer, so it's always a very it's a very fun process for me because I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
I really would like, I don't know, a wallet. And so just going through that process of finding inspiration and making it better, making it what I would want, and seeing it come together is really exciting. So, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, That's super fun, and I do I hear that every now and then from people who are building brands. It's like, I am not this, and it's like, yes, actually you are, because you're doing it. You're no you're no less of a designer. You're no less of a whatever. It's just like when I pretend to be an analyst, when I pretend to know what I'm doing with data. Like, yeah, I didn't go to school for it, but I'm analyzing data, so I'm an analyst today.
Exactly. Yeah.
The website is womads.co, womads.co. Where else can people find you guys? Where else can people connect with you? And if they're in the Miami area, if they're around, network as well too, where can people find you?
Yeah, Instagram's a good place. At womads.co. And just if you are in the Miami area, definitely shoot me a message. My email is lisa at womads.co. And I'm organizing like little coffee get-togethers every few months, and I would love to meet you. So
Amazing.
definitely, yeah, reach out.
Super cool. Well, thank you, Lisa, for carving out time. And best of luck with everything as the rest of the year pans out with new products and all of the hats that you continue to wear. But I really appreciate you kind of sharing your perspective and knowledge with us today.
Thank you so much, Sean. It was a pleasure.